Many African nations attained independence in the late 1950s and early 1960s. The end of the European colonial powers during this time period is a defining feature. Cold War era was in effect at the time, and the Americans realized they needed to carve out a position for themselves and their interests on this continent that was abundant in natural resources. The CIA had to clear the way and prepare the area before they could set up shop there, given that colonialism was a long-lasting phenomenon. Additionally, other peoples were still in negotiations or fighting for their freedom. All of this was taking place during the Cold War, when East and West were vying more fiercely than ever for control of the world. New ambitions and the treasures they embraced bowels of the African earth were made possible by the exit of European colonial forces from numerous regions of Africa. The USSR and the USA were engaged in a type of frenzied race. Africans desired to take control of their nations and believed that they should be the first to benefit from the continent's wealth. For the benefit of governments or organizations, they gather and analyze sensitive information. They carry out covert operations, infiltration, and other forms of surveillance to obtain information about prospective threats or to their advantage. Because of the often secretive nature of their employment, it calls for extreme discretion and professionalism. They could work covertly or assume different identities. They need a high level of skill, training, and mental toughness for their work, which can be dangerous. Their practice frequently involves emotional deceit and manipulation. One of the most fascinating Pan-African conferences took place in Accra, the capital of Ghana, in 1958, with the participation of African leaders. Francis Kwame Nkrumah, the president of the newly independent Ghana, and Patrice Lumumba, the Prime Minister of the Congo, both made their intentions to forge a close alliance known as the Accra Summit. This may be accomplished within a few years, according to the overall mood of the Accra Conference, which was characterized by eagerness for independence. However, the enthusiasm in Accra was not in line with what outside powers perceived of the continent. The years that looked promising never materialized. Susan Williams, a historian, claims in her contentious book White Malice that the Americans were resolved to stealthily own the forelocks of Africans and control their wealth as they saw the Europeans leave the African continent. According to Susan Williams, the CIA infiltrated Africa and sabotaged the aspirations of 1958 expressed by Patrice Lumumba, Kwame Nkrumah, and other decolonized African leaders. American intelligence agents were deployed in all directions, and they were implanted within many international organizations, and pressure groups were created. The adoption of cultural penetration is among the means of that American penetration into the brown continent. Another book discusses the United States' attempt to dominate Africa. Former CIA agent Larry Devlin, who oversaw and directed U.S. intelligence activities in Central Africa starting in the early 1960s, wrote the memoir. In this book, Larry Devlin discusses the American role in the Belgian Congo, or Democratic Republic of the Congo, as it was formerly known. Devlin was a witness and participant in the events that caused the instability in the area, and as a result, his wounds would not mend for decades. Memoirs of Agent Larry Devlin is a remarkable book that reveals a lot of what happened behind the scenes of those violent episodes. On June 18, 1922, Lawrence Raymond Devlin was born in California. During World War II, he enlisted in the U.S. Army and rose to the position of captain. He served for 2 years in North Africa, followed by stops in Italy and the south of France, when he fell in love with Colette Porteret, a member of the Free French forces who would later become his first wife. The renowned Professor McGeorge Bundy, who served as the National Security Advisor to U.S. Presidents John F. Kennedy and Lyndon B. Johnson, selected and recruited Larry Devlin to the CIA in 1949. At the time, Devlin was presenting his PhD thesis proposal. 10 days after the Congo proclaimed its independence from Belgium in July 1960, Larry Devlin was named director of the CIA there. Patrice Lumumba was picked to be the first prime minister of the independent Congo government, just as before his arrival. According to Devlin's memoirs, he received orders from an operative he only knew as Joe from Paris who told him they came from the CIA's main office and that he, Larry Devlin, was to plot and carry out the killing of Patrice Lumumba. According to these instructions, various poisons, including one that was concealed in a toothpaste package, have been supplied for this reason. Larry Devlin reveals, the source of the instructions is Dick Bissell, the CIA's deputy chief of charts. Larry Devlin was curious as to just who had issued those directives. As a result, he was hesitant to go forward with the assassination plan because Patrice Lumumba's aspirations and passion were upsetting many people outside of Africa, especially the United States of America. Devlin went on to speculate that the orders to kill Lumumba may have come from the White House, maybe from President Dwight Eisenhower, but he was unable to locate any concrete evidence to support this. Devlin claimed in his reports and the seminars he attended that he thought the assassination itself was ethically repugnant and had the potential to harm American interests. Patrice Lumumba was slain in Katanga by his political rivals under mysterious circumstances. The CIA agent was not instructed to carry out the assassination. The Democratic Republic of the Congo's Katanga province was formerly known as Shaba under the administration of previous President Mobutu Sese Seko. It was part of the region known as the Copper Belt before the Congo gained its independence, which also includes the Copper Belt region, which is now in the Republic of Zambia. This region is among the richest in natural resources in Central Africa. A discussion of those difficult times in the independent Congo's life can be found in the Book of White Malice. According to Susan Williams, a scholar at the University of London, the CIA uses the arts to infiltrate and spread throughout Africa. The African tour by the well-known musician Louis Armstrong and his band was utilized to carry out some of the most contentious espionage operations in African history during the Cold War. Susan Williams claims that during one of Armstrong's visits to the Congo in 1960, he was having dinner at a restaurant in the capital of the newly independent country with his wife and a U.S. Embassy representative.
Give me a kiss to build a dream on, my imagination, climb upon that kiss. Sweetheart, I ask no more than this, a kiss to build a dream on. Yeah. Give me a kiss before you leave me, my imagination.
However, Armstrong was unaware that Larry Devlin, the head of American intelligence in the Congo, was his host that evening rather than the political attaché at the American embassy as he had been informed. Additionally, Armstrong was unaware that due to his notoriety, the American spy was able to obtain crucial information that played a crucial part in one of the most contentious operations in the entire history of the Cold War. The mineral wealth of Katanga was the U.S. State Department's top priority for the Americans in the Congo, and the safest method for the CIA operatives to travel there was to join Armstrong on his cultural tour. In addition to other goals, that one was equally crucial and essential. According to Susan Williams, one of the targets that Louis Armstrong was unaware of was at the core of the technical trip containing the assassination preparation of Patrice Lumumba, whose positions worried the United States of America. Lumumba was assassinated 2 months after the famous American musician's tour. Larry Devlin supported Mobutu Sese Seko in his overthrow of Patrice Lumumba while serving as Secretary of State in his government, from his post as CIA chief in Central Africa. He placed him under house arrest before turning him over to his rivals in politics. He additionally stood by him in Katanga on behalf of America after the military takeover he orchestrated in 1965 that allowed him to serve as president until 1997. According to Larry Devlin, the United States of America's support for Mobutu Sese Seko was not an error because the dictator had a strong antipathy toward communism and had obvious Western sympathies, which were in the Americans' best interests. At the height of the Congolese crisis, there were rumors that American intelligence played a covert role in inciting articles against Patrice Lumumba in the newspapers printed in Leopoldville, the former name of Kinshasa, the capital of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. There was no supporting evidence or convincing argument based on what was said, as with most intelligence operations. According to Agent Devlin's autobiography, the CIA, or American Central Intelligence Agency, supported Mobutu Sese Seko following the January 14, 1960 coup, sometimes as bystanders and sometimes as active participants. The top spies for the CIA in and around the Congo were enthralled by Africa. Larry Devlin made the decision to settle down with his wife in the Congo when his service was finished, since he had made many acquaintances there over the years, particularly with American and European expats. He afterwards changed into a trader for diamond, cobalt, and uranium dealer Maurice Tempelsman. He unearthed several secrets in this area that indicated the true intentions of numerous foreign activities and maneuvers that had occurred in the Congo, as well as in many other African nations. Larry Devlin passed away on December 6 of the same year, 2008, and his memoirs, which describe sometimes dark operations, have survived.